Well, thank you all for coming out. And I'm Amy. I feel like lots of BMC circles start with introducing yourself, so happy to be here. I'd like to share a little bit about what I'd like for us to be doing in this program. And if you don't know, David introduced me somewhat, but I teach anatomy in New York a lot, and I've taught anatomy and yoga in New York for the past 16 or 17 years. And one of the things I'm seeing happening in the yoga world, and I end up teaching on teacher training, so I'm part of a kind of teacher training world also. And one of the things that I see happening on these teacher trainings, and as the yoga community, business, but the whole world of yoga is exploding and expanding so much, is that there's this question about what's next, or where to go once you've done your 200-hour teacher training, or how can I get more information, and how can I know enough to be good enough. And I feel like there's a lot of going down the road of study more, learn more, oh, go to medical school, oh, go learn this, oh, memorize. There's so much to know. And it's really fun to learn. I love studying anatomy. It's one of my favorite things in the world to study. But I think we're missing out on the other part of deepening our practice and our teaching, which is about doing practice and being in the experience of something. And for me, part of what body-mind centering offers, and what we're focusing on in this Foundations in Embodied Anatomy and Yoga, is the idea of the value of what arises from practice and process. So the point for me of a yoga practice is not getting my foot to my head. I have done that, been there, done that. Did not make me a better person. The questions of what happens when I do something over and over again, how do I meet myself day to day in a practice? And I really value the form of a practice, the idea that if I do the same few asana every day, or the same many asana, or whatever, if I do the same thing every day, and I see myself differently in that moment every day, in that practice each day, then I get to understand something different about myself. And I get to understand something different about the process of being alive. And that willingness to engage in that question, I think, is what takes a practice to a different kind of depth than knowing more information. And there are a lot of advanced trainings now in the world around yoga, where you can study more things, where you can learn more information, you can learn more anatomy. I have ways you can learn more anatomy with me. But this is not about learning more things, but about engaging in the process, not getting to a product, but in the process and the practice, and seeing what happens when we value that. For me, it's also a question not just of yoga, but of the whole world. Our educational system, our culture, our society. This is an aspect of being on the planet that I think, not to go too big, but that we're missing, is just how to be in the day-to-day experience of being alive, being a human being, being in relationship with ourselves, being in relationship with each other. So that's something that I think we get to bring, that BMC values hugely, and when BMC can bring that out in yoga, amazing things can happen. And I think it's in yoga, like it's in the idea of yoga, but we lose track of it sometimes. So letting them illuminate each other in that way, I think is really powerful, and has the possibility for making change in a way that that isn't happening so much right now in the yoga world that I'm experiencing. Another thing that I'm really excited about putting our attention on and valuing is the quality of, or the importance of relationship. And one of my really important yoga teachers is a teacher named Mark Whitwell, and he talked about that the practice of yoga is about getting into relationship with your breath and your body so that you can be in relationship with other people. And the whole point is to be able to be relational rather than reactive. And like he kept coming back to that over and over again. And then I met BMC after that, and was doing a workshop with Bonnie, and she was talking about relationship. And I'm like, oh my God, whoa. It's not so surprising anymore that these amazing things intersect, because I think there's a deep truth in there about relationship. But then taking that question back out into some of the ideas around principles of movement and anatomy and kinesiology, I think is a really interesting exploration. And again, I experience a lot of conversations about staying healthy, not hurting yourself, and learning alignment. And the way that alignment right now is talked about is, not here, I haven't taken your classes here, so I don't know what you're saying here. Out there in the world, in the magazines and in the yoga studios that I go to, alignment is this abstracted thing that we can get to if we just have enough information. And I started thinking about what the word alignment means, and it doesn't, it's like not a complete statement until we say what we're aligning with. So it's actually not a like grammatically correct thing to say, I am aligned. I am aligned with this political party, I am aligned with this stance, I am aligned with this belief system, I am aligned with this trajectory on the floor, I am aligned with. What am I aligned with? And one of the things that I think the body-mind centering can bring to the question of alignment is the idea of aligning with our own experience of something in our bodies. And that quality of aligning with is a question potentially about coming into relationship with. So am I aligned with it? Do I know what I'm talking about? Do I know what I intend to be doing? Am I doing what I want to do? If I'm not doing what I want to do, can I figure out what I want to do? Do I even know what I want to do? If I do know what I want to do, can I do it? And if I'm not doing it, can I get there? Which is a question of practice. Can I do what I set out to do? And if I can't, how do I figure out how to do that? So that alignment becomes not this perfect state to get to, but again, a process that arises from coming into relationship with, which then illuminates this idea of relationship needs something to relate to, and the importance of relating to an idea, but also others. And a part of the way that I know myself is through my relationships with others. And that something like yoga or a practice or BMC, that I don't do it. I might practice alone in my room, but my experience of yoga arises in relationship to other people. And so the depth with which these ideas are about interrelatedness and interconnectedness and not isolating things out, for me is really profound. We might look at one particular part of the body, but it doesn't actually, it's not a complete picture until we see the web of connections between things, which then takes us back to practice and process and not getting to a right answer, not getting to a state of knowingness, but being in the question. So those ideas, redefining alignment, looking at relationship, valuing practice, valuing process, are some of what we want to bring out in looking at or some of what this approach to yoga and BMC can bring. And then Lisa's going to say more.
When we were planning tonight's talk, Amy and I went through a lot of things that we could say about body-mind centering, about yoga, and about, how we feel yoga's going in the Western world today. So we zeroed that down to about 4 main points. So thank you, Amy. It's great. Something that body-mind centering brings to yoga that I don't hear anywhere else in the yoga world, and I'm going to go off of what Amy shared, is this thing about alignment. But again, Amy's question, what are we aligning to? So something in body-mind centering in yoga, is that we're looking at the natural architecture of the body and getting back to that state that actually the architecture of the body knows what it's doing if you just make space for it. And we stop covering it up with actions, and then this does this, and this does this. No. If we just go back to that natural architecture, then the body really knows how to breathe, and it really knows how to move without stress. Without stress. Okay? So we're looking at multiple body systems in body-mind centering, and this is one of the things I feel it brings to the yoga world. Multi-body systems. Now, when I look out there in the yoga world out here in the West, I hear a couple of body systems that are mentioned constantly with our practice and our yoga. What would they be? Anybody gonna take a shot at it? Muscles and skeletal system.
Nervous system.
You hear a little nervous system. Yeah. In body-mind centering, we work with something like, I'm always counting them, is it 9? At least 9 different body systems. And the way that Amy and I co-designed this 6 modules of this series is that we go into the different body systems so that you can experience them. Not just the anatomy, but the movement and the mind of these body systems and how they came about. And as we go through these 6 different modules, you start to see this incredible, you start to realize that they cohabitate, they commingle to create a whole body, a whole person. So in BMC, we're looking a lot at body systems, but we're looking how they kind of collaborate, Amy's word, they come into a collaborative communication to create a whole experience through this natural architecture of the body. But that's not enough. All of that starts to relate with gravity, with levity, with the pulls and the tides of the planet. Things much larger than us that are impacting us when we do this incredible practice called yoga. So it's not just the asanas, it's multi-things in yoga that we are living with. And I feel like body-mind centering is one of the few voices out there that really addresses that. How were we conceived? How did we grow through utero? How did that process affect the body as we grew arms, legs, spine? How do those things continue now that we're big grown-up bodies? And what does that mean? To be a human in relationship with everything around it. I was telling David and Amy as we were in here getting set up for tonight, and what is it that hooked me? What is it that hooked me on BMC? And I'm going on my 39th year working in this body-mind centering work, okay? Just to kind of put it in perspective. What made me keep coming back? You know, didn't matter if it was the same thing I was hearing, but every time it just went a little bit deeper. I felt like the first time I met Bonnie Cohen and she started teaching, I felt this woman was not teaching me yoga, but I felt like she unlocked it for me. She unlocked the language, she unlocked the fact that yoga is so somatic and so embodied, and it's through that embodied journey that the wisdom comes out. The wisdom didn't plop in our laps. It came out of the body. It came out of being human. And that was passed mouth to mouth. Then it got written down, then it got passed down, then it got codified. But I felt like she was unraveling the very essence of what I was in love with yoga. And I feel like it's incredible to try to bring that into a yoga class, to share how deep it goes when we really practice. I'll pause for a second. And I'll say another thing I love about this program, what we'll be teaching, is it introduces many ways of learning, which I think is very important for a yoga teacher. Because, I mean, I've been a yoga teacher now for, 30 years now, I think, been teaching. So, yoga is working with movement and touch and breath. It's working with these things. It's not just a cognitive process. We can only learn so much if we keep it at the level of cognitive. So it's a real skill set as a teacher in your classroom, when you're learning, when you're teaching other people, that there's a moment of cognitive idea, there's a moment of visualization, there's a moment of imagination. But as we go deeper, layer by layer into the body, other things get involved. Experiential. You have to experience. You can't think through it. You have to be able to go into the depths of what does it mean somatic. A somatic is when we're conversing with what we're feeling in the body and it's expressing ourselves, and also we're taking information from outside of the body. It's dual. And then finally we get to the next level, which is called embodiment. And that is when the body itself gives us the information. And it goes the other way. It goes from the tissues of the body back up, sorting, and then it might come to the cognitive again. Now, all these things I named are creating all sorts of different neural connections in the body. They're making us very three-dimensional as yoga teachers and yoga practitioners. So for me, I feel like yoga was the original embodiment practice. There's other ones on the planet, many others, but yoga was meant as an embodied practice. And then through the experience and the time, the words, cueing, thoughts, how to do it, how to duplicate it, how to show it to others, that starts coming from actually experiencing it.